Hi friends, this is Benjamin from English Classes Online. You are welcome to today's video. Today we are going to look at how to write a letter to the editor. Writing a letter to the editor is a regular feature of some English exams, such as the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, the National Examinations Council Senior School Certificate Examinations, and others. And beyond your secondary and university education, you also need the letter writing skill in order to express or communicate your ideas with clarity as a central something of central importance to achieving success in whatever career you are pursuing. That's why our focus today is on writing a letter to the editor. So if you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified instantly and you will have access to all the videos I upload on the channel. So let's get started with how to write a letter to the editor. What is a letter to the editor? A letter to the editor is normally used to deal with issues of public concern. It may be in form of a complaint, a request, a protest, an observation, a rejoinder, etc. We are picking a past question from the GCE of November 1982. And the question is as follows. Write a letter to the editor of a national newspaper in your country discussing the problems of taking examinations in your country. A letter to the editor, like an article, is a write-up that discusses a topic of public interest. And the problems of taking examinations in a country are of concern to the society because people need exams in order to move to the next level in their social ladder. And if you are not sitting for an exam, your loved ones, your relations, your friends might be sitting for the exam. So the problems of taking examinations in a country are of public concern. Now, the features of a letter to the editor. The first is the address of the writer and date. Now, the difference between a letter to the editor and an article is simply in terms of the letter to the editor being addressed like as a letter to the editor, but it contains the same discussion that you will find in an article. An article simply begins with a title or a subject heading, and then it discusses it to a logical conclusion, which a letter to the editor does. The difference is that this will contain the address to the editor, just as we find here. The first is the writer's address and date. The number 2 is the designation and full official address of the recipient. The recipient in this case is the editor. So you will write the editor, you write the name of the newspaper or magazine, and then you write the address. Number 3 is the opening salutation, which is usually sir or madam. And then number 4 is the title or headline. So in this case, like we saw in the question, our title will be the problems of taking examinations in Nigeria, or whichever one is your country, you put it there. The problems of taking examinations in Ghana, the problems of taking examinations in South Africa, the problems of taking examinations in America, the problems of taking examinations in London. Wherever you find yourself, you state it there. Then the next thing will be the content of the letter, which will consist of the introduction, the body, and the conclusion of the article. Of course, the introduction is the first paragraph. The body of the letter should contain at least 3 paragraphs, beginning with paragraph 2. So you are supposed to have paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4 at least. And then the conclusion will be the final paragraph, in which you summarize your main ideas and then re-emphasize your central message. Then the next thing will be the subscription or closing greeting, which usually is yours faithfully, in line with the specification for a formal letter. A letter to the editor is a formal letter, so it should have a formal closing, yours faithfully. And this will be followed by the signature of the writer. So you sign your signature after yours faithfully. And the last thing will be your surname and your first name. That's your full name, beginning with your surname and followed by your first name. So that is exactly what a letter to the editor should contain, the features of a letter to the editor. Now let's get into writing the letter practically. We have already seen the question. Well, let's revisit the question so that you will appreciate what we are handling when we get into answering the question. Now, write a letter to the editor of a national newspaper in your country discussing the problems of taking examinations in your country. So that is the question. And so we want to look at how to answer that question. Now, you can see here that the letter to the editor begins with the writer's address and date. And here you have to take note of the fact that we are using the block style here. Alright, the block style is what we are using here. AB Grammar School, we put a comma. This is a closed block style. An open block style doesn't have any punctuation. A closed block style has punctuation, and I recommend that you use the closed block style so that you will showcase your ability to punctuate your work. AB Grammar School, P.O. Box 160 in Nsukka, Enugu State. Now the address ends with Enugu State, and this is where we put a full stop to signal the end of the address. Then begins the date, 5th June, comma 2012, full stop. So watch the appropriate punctuation marks we use here. Then comes the full designation, the designation and full address of the recipient. The recipient is the editor, as I earlier said. So this is how we write it. The editor, this is the designation. Daily Star, Enugu, full stop. So you can see here, Sir. Then we put a comma, and then comes the title or the heading, the problems of taking examinations in Nigeria. Now we have used the total capitalization methods. There are 2 ways of presenting your title, and this is one of them, which I recommend, because you just write everything in capital letters and you don't have to underline it. If you use the other method, you will observe some rules. For example, the first word begins with a capital letter, and that's how we write the here. Then problems is a noun, so it begins with a capital letter P. Okay, the problems. Alright, so this should be understood. Then of, which is a preposition, will be in small letters. Okay, taking, which is a verb, will start with a capital letter T. and then other things will be in small letter. Then examinations, which is a noun, will also begin with the capital letter E, and then others will be in small letters. Alright. Then in is a preposition, so we write it in small letter. Alright. We write it in small letter. Nigeria is a proper noun, so it begins with the capital letter N. Alright, so we put it here in Nigeria, and then other things will follow. And when we use this method, what do? We underline. We underline. So this will be our title. That's the second method. I recommend this method of writing everything in capital letters, and you don't have to underline because it is simpler to do. Here, if you begin a word with a small letter when it should begin with a capital letter, you lose half a mark. And if you do otherwise, in other cases, you lose half a mark. Every error you commit will cost you half a mark. So instead of taking the risk, you simply use the total capitalization method. Put everything in capital letter as you find here, and don't underline. Now we are through with the title. The next thing will be the introduction, which is the first paragraph. Now, if you look for the video lecture I delivered on how to write an article, you will find the 4 essential ingredients which the first paragraph, the introductory paragraph of an article, should contain. And number 1 is the subject matter, number 2 the thesis, number 3 the enumeration, number 4 the intro. Now I won't go into details here because I've discussed this in a previous video lecture. I will include a link to that video in the description section, so you can click on it and watch the video and find out the parameters for writing a very good first paragraph of an article, or indeed any meaningful piece of writing. Now, the subject matter is the subject, is the real thing you are talking about, so that's the first thing you begin with. And normally an article or a letter to the editor is always about a social problem, and so you begin with drawing the attention of the editor and the readers to the social problem that you are writing about. And there are different ways of presenting your subject matter. Here we have used the direct method. We just present the problem in a straightforward manner, as opposed to other methods such as the quotation method, using a quotation, or the rhetorical question method. If you read my video lecture on how to write an article, in which I actually also illustrated with a particular past question, exam question, you will see these things discussed in greater detail. So here we are using the direct methods, and we say here the problems of taking examinations in Nigeria are becoming alarming these days. You see, the problems of taking examinations in Nigeria are becoming alarming these days. All right, that is the subject matter, because what we are talking about is the problems of taking examinations in Nigeria, and we are stating the problem. Then we create a picture of how serious the problem is. Now we continue. The fact that the media have not given this issue wide publicity does not make the problems less problematic. It is my candid opinion that this issue deserves to be given serious attention, considering the fact that the future of millions of the citizens depend on their performance in examinations. In this article, I will examine few of the problems and suggest ways of tackling them. So this is how we have presented our introductory paragraph. The purpose of your first paragraph is to present the subject for discussion. Here you have told the editor that your letter is about the problems of taking examinations in Nigeria. You have told him it is a serious problem and that requires to be discussed and that requires urgent attention and solution. Now, in writing the body of your letter or your article, you need an outline you have created. An outline is a list of the points that you want to discuss in the article or letter. All right. Now, when you are writing this kind of letter or article in the exam, what you need to do is to use the last page of your answer sheet as a rough sheet of paper. Here I'm writing it here because I'm teaching you. You don't write your outline on the same answer sheet. You don't do it. All right. You do it in the last page of your answer sheet. You jot down the points you are going to use to discuss, and after this you cancel it out. Now let's assume that our first point is the first one is high fees. Let's high examination fees. You jot this down. High exam fees. Now this is your first point, and then the second one could be exam malpractices. Then the third one could be the third one could be restriction of let's say discrimination against or let's say charging of high examination fees, and another one will be the one of the fees charged by the examining bodies, which is also complicated by the schools themselves, then coupled with the special centers. So the important thing about the outline is for you to jot down the points or the main ideas you want to discuss, so that when you start discussing them, that will not be the time you will begin to think about that, and then you may forget everything. If you plan your essay before writing it becomes very easy and becomes something that you can do exceedingly well. So that's about creating an outline, and once you have created an outline, then of course you go into the writing. Now let's look at what we have put down here as the body of our letter. And here we are saying one of the major problems facing candidates taking examinations in the country is the high fees charged by the various examining bodies. To make matters worse, the schools whose duty is to prepare the candidates, internal and external, for these examinations often make the already high fees even higher for personal gain. As a result, most students from poor homes are denied the right to sit for examinations as they are unable to pay the high fees demanded. So you have now stated the first problem of taking examinations in Nigeria, and that is the high fees charged by the examining bodies and worsened by the schools. Alright, so let's go ahead to the next one. Then another problem is that the candidates are kept in the dark about the prescribed books in their various subjects. More often than not, the examining bodies set their questions on books that are different from the ones prescribed in the scheme of work given to the schools by the Ministry of Education. Of course, the teachers base their lessons to their students on the scheme of work. The result is that the students get into the examination hall and are confronted with questions taken from books that they have never read. This happens frequently in subjects like literature, languages, etc. Of course, many students fail their examinations regularly on account of this. So this also is a clear problem. We have identified problem number 2. Perhaps the worst of all the problems facing candidates taking examinations in Nigeria today is the existence of the so-called special centers. It now seems to be the norm rather than the exception for agents of the examining bodies, the ministry, and the schools to collude in promoting examination malpractices in various examination centers across the country. What they do nowadays is to create special centers for students who are able to pay the huge sums of money they demand in exchange for freedom to steal answers as they wish, or even have questions answered for them by teachers who are authorities in the various subjects. In some cases, the supposed invigilators in such centers write answers clearly on the board for the students, who only have to copy them into their answer sheets. On the other hand, students who refuse to pay for the special centers, either on grounds of conscience or lack of money, are denied the right atmosphere and sufficient time to complete their work. So these are also specific problems. So let's continue. In addition to being unduly harassed by invigilators, these innocent students are forced to submit their scripts long before the end of the officially allowed time for the examination. This is often done to intimidate them into paying for the special centers in subsequent papers. But the disheartening outcome is that the serious and honest students fail, whereas the unserious and dishonest ones pass the exam with flying colors. Now, this we have discussed as the problems of taking examinations in Nigeria. Now we want to profile solution to the problems. Urgent steps must be taken to arrest this ugly situation. To start with, the examining bodies should reduce the examination fees to enable people from poor homes to take part in the examinations. Moreover, the government should subsidize the examination fees to make things easier for those who need to sit for examinations in order to move to the next level in life. Heads of schools should repent of their greed and help in making examination fees affordable to candidates. Next, the Ministry of Education and the examining bodies should collaborate to present a common list of prescribed books to the candidates in all subjects to ensure that all their lessons and studies are based on the right books on which the examination questions are set. The best way to do this is by making sure that the books prescribed in the scheme of work issued to the schools in the country are jointly approved by the Ministry of Education and the examining bodies. Alright, so we are providing specific solutions to specific problems. Finally, the government should stop paying lip service to the fight against examination malpractices. The law enforcement agents should embark on effective surveillance of all the examination centers during examinations with a view to apprehending, prosecuting and punishing offenders. People convicted of any form of examination malpractice should be sentenced to long terms of imprisonment as a deterrent to others. Also, schools found guilty of creating special centers or supporting examination malpractices should be closed down to teach other schools how not to sabotage the government's resolve to improve the standard of education in this country. So you can have a picture of what a letter to the editor should be like. It discusses very clear ideas. It paints a serious problem. It paints a picture of a serious problem. Then it comes up with solution. Okay, so now this is the conclusion. If the above measures are taken, I believe that the problems of taking examinations in this country will be solved. Apart from making it easy for people to take examinations, this will promote hard work and discourage fraud and mediocrity among the citizens, thereby taking our teeming youths to greater heights in their chosen careers and guaranteeing a brighter future for the country in general. Thank you. Then the closing or the subscription, yours faithfully, signed. An actual signature has to be here. You have to sign your signature here. Alright, so if I am writing it, this sign won't be here. I will just sign my signature here. Alright, your signature will be the actual thing there, not signed. You just sign your actual signature here, and then your name, beginning with your surname, Aji Ezijugu, So this is exactly how to write a letter to the editor, and we have been able to look at it specifically. So now I want you to understand that everything that is worth doing is worth doing well. And if you need to write a letter to the editor, you need to write it very well. It begins with planning. The writing process is always similar in all cases. It begins with the planning stage, which we call the pre-writing stage. Then you use the outline you have created to do the actual writing. But after your writing, you make sure you go through the writing, go through it again, and then cross-check what you have written to ensure that it is grammatically correct and it is free from spelling errors and other errors of grammar, error in tenses, and so on. And once you are convinced that everything has been fine-tuned, then of course you submit your letter. This is how it has been in today's video. If you are new to this channel, if you have not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to click on the bell icon as well, so that you will receive notifications whenever new videos are uploaded. In our subsequent videos, we shall be talking about essay writing in general. I will deliver a lecture that will show you how to write an essay, the strategies, the techniques that you need to use when writing an essay, which could be an article, it could be a speech, it could be a report, it could be a story, and so on and so forth. Certain principles that are common to writing in general, I will find time to discuss them in subsequent videos. So watch out for the video. See you in the next video, and remain blessed.